What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of College Football Showdown presented by Prime Sports World. I am your host, Israel Rivera, and here with me, my main man from the Daily Blitz.blog, Christian Simpson, and Matt James may be joining us later, so stay tuned for that. But before I start the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World at Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And in case you missed it, you can catch us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. Christian, what's going on, my man?
Brother, come on, man. Had to be here. It's college football showdown. Can you believe we're in week 6 of college football? That's crazy. Time is flying. It just seems like you and I were off the microphone kind of talking about some things, and it just seemed like a couple weeks ago, you and I were on FaceTime talking about Nico Iamaleava. All right, I've been practicing that. Talking about him going up against North Carolina State and then Northern beating Notre Dame. So the season's really flying. That's flying. The NFL is flying, but I know we got a lot to talk about.
Definitely got a lot to talk about. And yes, man, the season is flying. It's I don't know if you can see me. Yeah, but the season is flying, man. Week 6 it's crazy. It's crazy that we're here. And that we are almost damn near midway through, almost midway through the season, almost in a way.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's you coming up to some real clutch games in October and November that are really going to decide some guys' fates in the college football, some teams' fates in the college football playoff. And for teams are jockeying for position in that mold. I don't know why you guys can't see me here. I'm gonna have to do this right quick. Hold on, Christian. 1 second here.
Handle your business, man. It's just me, guys. But yeah, like I said, week 6 college football. I know we're gonna talk about a lot of things.
There we go.
5. There we go. I was just keeping the people entertained while you came back, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But anyways, I like to have the camera on me. I'm like blank camera here. We're all messed up. But anyways, man, to start the week off, week 5 headline. I usually have a headline here for all of them. I think a perfect headline would have been we all the way. We going all the way up, right?
All the way up.
Roll. What a game as Bama defeated Georgia as presumably the game of the year so far. This one was looking like a blowout early, but then Georgia kept coming back. Carson Beck, 27-50, 439 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions with a first half to forget in his career. But Jalen Milroe on the other end played probably the best half of football probably ever in his career as a football player on all levels. 27-33. 374 yards to the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And he also did it on the ground. 16 carries, 117 yards. He had 100 yards in that first half with 2 touchdowns as well, as he was absolutely sensational. Other guys that had a sensational game, obviously on the Georgia end, Arian Smith, the veteran, 6 catches, 132 yards, 1 touchdown. Dylan Bell, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Dominic Levitt also pitched in. Lawson Lucky had the touchdown late as well for them in the second half. But sensational. This kid is sensational. 6 catches, 177 yards, 1 touchdown. I ain't talking about the best 17-year-old I've ever seen play football on any level. Ryan Williams with the game-winning touchdown grab and score with the spin-a-rooney. That's why I gotta call that play the spin-a-rooney. I don't know, man. We gotta get a play. We gotta get a name on that play. But that was probably the most sensational catch and run that I've seen any wide receiver make on any level. As Alabama defeats Georgia, like I said, and they move up to number 1 in the rankings. Christian, your thoughts as we bring Matt James in the show. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Oh man, what's up, Matt?
Happy Friday, guys.
Thanks, same to you. Izzy and Matt, just looking at this game, obviously, you guys know I previewed this one on the site last week. Alabama, I think, is the only team that can beat Georgia because you look at it in the last 3 or 4 years, Georgia has 3 losses, and guess who each of those losses have come against? The Alabama
Alabama.
Crimson
Alabama.
Tide. The Alabama Crimson Tide. But look at it like this, you two, and understand what I'm about to say here. Both these teams are similar. You could swap quarterbacks and you could swap helmets and uniforms, and you really wouldn't be able to tell a difference. But Alabama just came into this game and they punched Georgia in the teeth. Izzy, Matt, what do I always say? And TJ always echoes me. The bully don't like to get bullied, and that was on full display in that first
Yeah.
half. But you got to give Georgia a lot of credit because they made adjustments. But what really made me upset with the Georgia Bulldogs was the simple fact they weren't running the football. Carson Beck throwing the football 50 times, that's not a recipe for success for them. Huge win for Alabama. We always talk about that new head coach getting that signature win, and Kalen DeBoer got that. I mean, he can say, look, I beat Georgia. This Alabama team really hasn't missed a beat. They're a little bit younger. They have a younger coach on the sideline who I think the players really buy into. And yeah, Alabama, they just really took it. And I'm going to say this, Izzy and Matt. Jalen Milroe became my Heisman favorite after this game.
Absolutely. He put it on all display. Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it was well said. I mean, Georgia came back, gave us a scare. I mean, Alabama, backed off for a while, and Georgia, took advantage and nearly came back and won this. I mean, for those bettors out there, I mean, keep your eye out on those kind of things. Don't ever back out of, live in games like that. So, but yeah, Bama does not, don't matter who's coaching them right now. As you said, the bully does not like to get bullied. It's like both of these are the bullies right now, but Alabama's the top, top dog per se right now. On top of that, I mean,
I think
goodness, Jalen Milroe went on, the whole different page. I mean, he went on the Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young turned it up when he needed to and won that Heisman when he needed to. So
somebody said, who was it? It was Georgia's head coach. It was Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart said that Jalen Milroe reminds him of a stronger Lamar Jackson. And I mean, he's starting to prove he's like proving it a little bit. He's not. I don't want to say he doesn't have like the crazy highlight reel plays like Lamar Jackson has in open field, but I mean, Jalen Milroe was the fastest player on his football team, and that's saying something. Another thing I want to say about this Alabama team is that they're playing with a very young secondary. In the first half, they held their own.
They did
against the veteran wide receiver core in Georgia. I mean, you're talking about they got 3 or 4 freshmen back there starting. It's going to be scary in the next 2 or 3 years to see those guys because they make plays, right? I forget who was the kid that intercepted the ball to end the football game. In what was it in the end zone? Was
in the
it
end zone? I know who you're talking about, but I just can't remember his name right now.
Man, it was remarkable how these guys, how the young freshmen were just stepping up. And this happened. Because this game went into this game was it? What was it? Godly, what the heck was his name? Xavier Brown.
Yeah,
Xavier Brown was the kid that intercepted, and they it was a bunch of them. I mean, it was who else was the other dude that got the interception in the first half? Before it was Jihad Campbell's another one. I think he's a freshman. Who else is the other one? Damani Jackson. I mean, there's well, I don't know about Damani Jackson, but they had 2 freshmen that intercepted passes. So I mean, but you saw in the second half that those guys, those freshmen started to get jitters. I mean, like as the pressure kept coming, that veteran wide receiver core, those juniors, those seniors, that been in the Georgia system for a little minute, they started getting exposed a little bit. And I gotta kind of, play it as like the zone, right? Like when you're up that much, you take your foot off the gas and you get out the zone, but then you start playing zone, right? And you start playing prevent defense, you start getting picked apart by another guy on the other side in Carson Beck who was slinging that thing. I mean, yesterday I thought Shador Sanders was probably the best deep ball thrower in college football that can throw dots. Well, I'm having second guesses because this dude Carson Beck can throw a dot, a 40, 50, 60-yard dot on the money to these guys down the field.
I want to say this about what you had to say about Jalen Milroe. I want to add my own 2 cents because I agree with you completely, Izzy. But I want you both to hear what I have to say. I really like the chemistry and the relationship that Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe have built because Kalen is saying, you know what? Do what you do. Be the guy that you've been. Lead this offense how you've led this offense. I'm going to be here, and I'm going to sprinkle in a couple of suggestions here and there. But don't change your game because of me. And I can tell Jalen's really bought into that. And I like Kalen DeBoer. Izzy, I remember when Kalen got hired by Alabama, you and I talked about this, and I was excited for this hire because Kalen's a winner. Kalen is 107-12 as a head coach. And he's just coming off a year taking a team to the national championship. He's a leader of men, and it seems like these players have truly bought into him. I say this for Coach Rock all the time on Facebook. As a head coach, you're like a salesman, and it's your job to pitch your ideas to your new players, and most importantly, see if they'll buy into what it is that you're trying to sell. And I can tell that these guys in Tuscaloosa are really liking what Kalen is bringing to the table.
Absolutely. But yeah, congratulations to Bama, winning that football game, moving up to number one. They're presumably, Texas was, the number one team, obviously, in week 5, but they moved down a slot. We'll get to the 12-25 rankings, but yeah, just last week, if you beat that big bad wolf in Georgia, number 4 team in the nation, you deserve to be number one. Next on the slate, we got Miami versus Virginia Tech. As this game ended in a controversial ending, as Miami beat Virginia Tech 38-34. I'm not sure if all our viewers or the people that watch the podcast or listen to the podcast saw the game, but this game should have been won by Virginia Tech, in my opinion. But the refs saw fit that it was an incompletion. It was a Hail Mary type of throw that was caught by I got the kid's name, Daquan Felton, in the back of the end zone. The ball kind of comes out, but the Miami player is out of bounds already. When the ball's kind of getting ripped out, he already has control of the ball. It gets ripped out. Anyways, the referees have a long review, and they deemed that it was an incompletion. Miami wins. Miami's the number 5 team in the nation. But this was a hell of a game, just in general. By the way, just for the viewers, that same referee that had that review was also the same referee that worked the Miami Duke game in 2015, where him and other officials were suspended for 2 games for a series of errors in that game. So I don't know if anybody remembers that game, but this game was a hell of a game between 2 Houston area quarterbacks, and Kyron Jones, Cam Ward, both of them friends. Cam Ward, obviously 24-38, 343 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He threw those 2 interceptions, and I think one of them was one of them was a pick 6 in the beginning of the game. And Cam Ward made some great plays. There was a play where he almost was sacked, and he, I don't know how the hell he got it to his tight end, but he got it to his tight end. His tight end rolled down the sideline down to the 1. I mean, that has to be, if you're going to put a series of clips, that clip got to go to New York when he's, going to be in New York, which I think he will be. And then on the other end, Kyron Jones, had a solid game, 19-33, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, 52 yards on the ground. Bayshaw Tootin, 141 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. But you guys' thoughts on the ending of this game and just the game in general?
I mean, it just makes me wonder, what's the catch? Unfortunately, we have a lot of guys who have never played football or who have never caught a football in their life telling us what a catch is. These guys wear ties and they work 9 to 5s, unfortunately, which is why I always say we need a committee of guys who actually made a living off catching the football. Get a guy like a Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson, Des Bryant, Chris Carter, whoever, and make a committee. Because look, we can't keep doing this, and we can't keep having these seminars and these presentations during the off season. Like, come on, something's got to give, Izzy and Matt. But very controversial ending. We've seen this quite a few times, Izzy. I'm not going to bring up one of those times because I know you remember, and I think you know what I'm talking about. In Seattle, 2000.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, well, that was with the replacement refs. So
God, they were horrible. They were horrible.
that was with guys that was coaching Little League. We talk about guys that get paid six figures to ref these games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that was unacceptable. For as long as you reviewed it, it's clear as day that that's a catch. And the Miami defender is out of bounds. You can't rake the ball out when you're out of bounds. So it just doesn't make sense to me how that.
Yeah, you can as a defender.
Not when you're out of bounds. When your 2 feet are out of bounds, you cannot come back into play while you're out of bounds and rake the ball out. You can't do that.
Well, the only thing that was out of bounds was his elbow and his back, but as Christian mentioned, what is a catch? I mean, collegiate rules for this are different than the NFL. And the NFL obviously has been through this for over a decade, especially ever since the Calvin Johnson catch, which I was at the game and I still thought it was a catch to this day.
I still think it's a catch.
Yeah, the Bears got lucky on that one. I said it then, and I'll say it now. I'm not going to say the Bears would have lost or won the game. They had plenty of time. But either way, Calvin Johnson, according to that rule, at that time, he caught that ball. So
we can even talk about Dez Bryant, too, in Green Bay.
Yeah, he caught that.
Exactly.
He caught that too. Is he? Come on. Nah, Dez caught that. Matt,
that's one of these situations. It's like you can say, yeah, he came down right away, but the play was still fully in motion. So it's like, all right, where do you stop the play?
And like Christian said,
it's like the guy's out of bounds. It's like there's so many factors to this. So
there needs to be a committee.
You can go exactly.
I mean, I wish I can show the viewers the play. And I wish we can kind of go over the play because it was astonishing. Well, I don't want to do that, and then the podcast gets ended. I've done that stuff before. Okay. But
I was like,
no, for real.
We're gonna go bit by bit on this.
I don't own the copyrights to that video and all this bullshit. So, anyways, but I'm just saying though, like, dude, that I feel like that was a catch. There's no reason why it shouldn't have. That should have been a catch. It should have been a catch. It was a catch. In my opinion, it was a catch. And they took the glory and the way away from Virginia Tech, and Miami wins on, and they're a top 5 team, but they played like dog crap most of the game.
Well, Miami will get their due at some point, but I can see it both ways, to be honest. That's because the rule at the collegiate level is not cut and dry.
And that takes us to another controversial ending here in the Big Ten as Michigan defeated Minnesota 27-24. As Minnesota was coming back, they were called for offsides on an onside kick that they recovered after they scored a touchdown. As Minnesota lost, going over some stats. Alex Orji, I mean, come on now. 10 of 18, 86 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception. That's pathetic. I'm sorry. Let me keep going. Khalil Mullins, 24 carries, 111 yards. This team is actually getting down to their identity as a running football team, as they should be. And then on the other end, we have Minnesota, Max Brosman, 27-40, 258 yards, a touchdown, 1 interception. As Minnesota almost came back with the upset in the Big House. But your guys' thoughts on the onside kick that was an offsides that they recovered? I'll start with Matt first.
I'm gonna let Christian. I'm gonna rewatch this one.
He's gonna rewatch it.
I had to refresh myself again on the Miami one just to make sure, I mean, both of these are really close.
Yeah,
Christian, your thoughts on that?
Look, that was a terrible. Oh my God, when are we gonna get these calls right? When can we just have a game not end in any type of controversy, Izzy and Matt? But overall, looking at this game, I applaud Sharon Moore because he's gotten back to the basics. He went back into his offensive line. Run the damn football and run it down your throat until you can stop it. The only weakness Michigan has is quarterback because Alex Orji, and they're going to tell this young man, we don't need you to necessarily win us the football game.
We damn near don't need you. We damn near just need you to snap the ball and hand it off. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I mean, look, Michigan, they're going to have to do it with defense, special teams, and running the football. Dominate. They're not built to win a shootout like they were last year when they won the national championship. They're not. Plain and simple.
This is Matt still refreshing. I think that look, Michigan obviously they got to win out and to get into the college football playoff, you're gonna have to beat Ohio State. I think is this one in the shoe at the end of the year? Is it in the
yeah, but
you're not gonna beat Ohio State playing like this.
Yeah, but
you have to throw the football. If you're Michigan right now is so one-dimensional, it's ridiculous. I can't believe that they were not able to go get a successor for JJ McCarthy. This is you couldn't go into the portal and get a quarterback to give you some resemblance of a passing game. They are not. I mean, they may be able to get away with it for a little bit here in the Big Ten, but when you start heading against, golly, I don't even know what their schedule's looking like. They got Washington this week. They're gonna have to pass the ball against Washington. We'll talk about that. You got to go against Illinois. I think Illinois could beat them. Oregon, when you play at Oregon, that's a high-powered offense. You're gonna have to pass the ball against Oregon, and obviously against Ohio State, you're gonna have to pass the ball. You're gonna have to have chunk plays, and able to win these ball games. The fact that in the second half, third, fourth quarter, you were Minnesota was your offense was almost non-existent, almost second half of that fourth quarter, and you allow Minnesota to come back. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter. Your team scored 6 points in the whole second half of that football game. You're not gonna win any football games after this.
Yeah, Izzy, Matt, I'm gonna tell you this. The Michigan Wolverines, they're the New England Patriots of college football. Very similar. They do it with defense. They run the football, but they can't win with those chunk plays, like you just mentioned.
Yeah, and teams are figuring them both out. I mean, Michigan, they started off a little slow trying to get their offense rolling, but now it's like, oh, you're one-dimensional. Cool. It's like, well, this is easy. Defense can only do so much for your team against high-powered offenses, especially on the road. So it's like you got to pass the ball, as Izzy started this off. So, and I did look at it. All I needed to do is see a freeze frame on this, and Minnesota got screwed. So
you saw the replay.
I didn't even have to go any further. He was half a yard behind the line. I don't know how they missed that. That was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about Michigan.
And it should have never happened, as you mentioned. Michigan was up comfortably until that point. It's like, all right,
because Minnesota figured them out in the fourth quarter.
Now?
Well, Minnesota figured them out in the fourth quarter, and PJ Fleck is no slouch as a head coach.
No, not at all. But how good is your defense? I mean, you should be cutting teams out
for 3 quarters. Well, you get tired.
Oh, okay.
Though. Well, you can't. Okay, but Matt, your defense gets tired when Minnesota started clicking in the fourth quarter. you're talking 12 play drives, 11 play drive, whatever the case is, right? And then on the other side, when your offense can't sustain a drive, it's impossible for your defense to maintain that level of play for all 4 quarters. I mean, golly, this ain't Georgia. They ain't Georgia.
It is also their job to get off the field and find a way. I mean, in those situations, Minnesota is an average team. So in those situations, it's like you're going to get worn out against good offenses. I mean, they got, as you said, Oregon, Ohio State coming up. I mean, they're going to be worn out before halftime.
No, absolutely.
It's like, trying to just, run up and down the field with those guys. I mean, you got to, make sure you can finish 60 minutes against Minnesota. So, I mean, not to take anything from them, but it's like, I mean, if you want to be an elite defense and want to stay up top the Big Ten right now, I mean, you got to shut this down.
Absolutely. And then moving on to our last headline, the Kentucky Wildcats finally go into a top 10 opponent. They should have they had Georgia on the ropes the previous week. Going to Oxford and beat number 6 Ole Miss 20-17. This was another game where Kentucky brought that opponent down into the mud, and they said, we're going to play dirty in this game. On the Kentucky side, Brock Vandergraaf, 18-28, 243 yards, 1 touchdown. Jackson Dart, 18-27, 261 yards, 1 touchdown on the game. As the Kentucky Wildcats snapped I believe it was a 7-game win streak for Ole Miss. 7-game win streak for Ole Miss. As man, they had a chance. Ole Miss had a chance to tie this game with 48 seconds left, and Caden Davis, just like that was like not even close. They're like when I talk about field goal kickers on a daily basis for college. I mean, golly, they miss some bunnies. And I'm not saying 48 yard is a bunny, but man, that was just not even close. As Ole Miss was the 15.5-point favorite. So if you bet it on Kentucky, you probably won some nice Skrillers in this game. But your guys' thoughts on this game? I'll start with Christian first. Kentucky's win.
You said it best, and I'm gonna elaborate on it. There's 2 types of football teams. One is the team that likes to run and gun it. Put the ball down the field, take the top off the zone, turn the game into a track meet. Then you have the other type of team, the one that wants to make the game ugly. I'm talking about win the trenches, dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, and slow the game down. And that's Kentucky. And Kentucky came into this game with all the confidence in the world because they almost handed Georgia a loss because Georgia did not look good in that game. Kentucky looked good, but Georgia just made one more play when it mattered most. And this team just punched Ole Miss in the mouth. Jackson Dart really couldn't get into a rhythm like he wants to. And I thought that was the key. Throwing off his timing, and Kentucky did it. This is a big win for them.
Absolutely. Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. As both you guys said, Kentucky finished the job this time. I mean, talk about elite defense showing up for 60 minutes right here. I mean, playing 2 possible Heisman level quarterbacks right here in Carson Beck and Jackson Dart, slowing them down both times. They should have beaten Georgia the first time, but they were able to prevail this time and show the country who they really are. I mean, Kentucky's defense is not one to mess with right now.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of their defense, they allowed a high-powered, top 10 offense in Ole Miss to only 353 yards of total offense. They had 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and Ole Miss was 1 for 10 on third downs.
That's exactly that, and that's exactly why they lost the game. This is why I always say third down is so crucial and it's so beneficial to any football team, no matter what level you play at. Because one, it keeps your offense on the field. Two, it keeps their defense on the field. Three, it keeps your defense rested on the sideline. And most importantly, it keeps the opposition that you're playing. It keeps their offense on the sideline as well. You have to win third down. I call it the money down for a reason. And when you're 1 of 10, like you just said, that's not going to cut it.
Not going to cut it at all. And that's a wrap for week 5. And moving on to the top 25, as we spoke about it, Alabama at number 1, moving up 3 slots after beating Georgia. At number 2, we got Texas, who, man, Arch Manning had a hell of a game last week as well. At number 3, we got Ohio State. Number 4, we got Tennessee going into a tough matchup this week against Arkansas. And then round out top 5 is Georgia, moving 3 slots down for Auburn. They go up against Auburn this weekend. And then number 6, we got Oregon. 7, Penn State. 8, Miami. They move down a slot here in the AP top 25. At number 9, we got Mizzou. 10, we got Michigan. 11 is USC. At number 12, we got Ole Miss. At number 13, we got LSU here at number 13. At number 14, we got Notre Dame. At 15, we have Clemson. 16, Ohio State. 17, BYU. They move up 5 slots this week. BYU is a team to to watch out for because they look like they're playing really good, especially at home. They're real tough. They're probably going into a Baylor. People thought them moving up to Big 12 was going to be, but they have really they've really adapted well to the Big 12 and that up in competition here. And then at number 18, we got Utah, who goes down 8 slots. They lost to Arizona. My upset of the week, by the way, Matt James. Remember last week? I'm 2 for 2, right? So I had BYU beating K-State.
Big kudos on that one.
And then I had Arizona beating Utah in Utah. So that was a big one right there. As BYU actually plays Arizona this week. Next week they play Arizona. But anyways, at number 19, we got Oklahoma. They are, gearing up. I think they have a bye week this week, and I already know Christian's going to come up with an article for the Red River Showdown, right?
Oh man, we doing shameless plugs already.
2 weeks in advance.
Look,
2 weeks in advance.
Man, it's always been a privilege to preview that game. These are 2 teams that don't like each other, and it's bragging rights on the line, but it's the next episode. Word to Dr. Dre.
Word to Dr. Dre. Word to Dr.
Dre.
We're going to talk about that. We're giving you a preview already.
But nah, man. I mean, I'm going to ask you guys this, okay? Quinn Ewers has been hurt. Arch Manning's come in. And it looks really like Texas hasn't missed a beat. When Quinn comes back, and if you're Steve Sarkisian, do you bring back Quinn? Or do you keep Arch playing?
Man, he was amazing against Mississippi State, 26-31, 325 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
he was absolutely amazing against Mississippi State.
And Quinn Ewers was amazing against Mississippi.
I don't think Sark will do that to Quinn because first things first, I think that'll hurt Quinn's draft stock.
Yeah,
if he does do that, I think Sark owes it to Quinn Ewers to ride with Quinn. Now, if we get to playoff time and Quinn is struggling, now we're throwing Arch in. And now against Georgia, he's struggling against Georgia.
Yeah.
Now we throw Arch in the game. You know what I mean? Like those type of games, I think that's because we could see a Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa situation here.
We're looking also, and we could also say we're looking at a Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence type of thing. Because you remember
that is true too.
Once Dabo Sweeney pulled Kelly Bryant and put Trevor Lawrence in, look at what happened.
I think with Texas, I think it's like, okay, you have 2 elite quarterbacks. I think you can't go wrong with either one of them.
No, you can't.
The only thing about Arch is, Arch is healthy and Arch is a little bit more explosive in the run game. He gives you that more dynamic in the RPOs as opposed to Quinn Ewers, who's not as dynamic in the RPOs as Arch is. So It's a crazy dynamic, moving forward for Texas. But and then at number 20, we got K-State. They just a blip, man. They dominated Oklahoma State. I mean, that game, I'm gonna be real, man. Mike Gundy need to go because, man, I mean, the fact that you stopped running the football with Ali Gordon, he had like 60-some yards in the first quarter, 60 plus yards in the first quarter. The fact you stopped running the football with Ali Gordon is just, and it's a close game. That's pretty ridiculous. But man, Avery Johnson, he had 5 total touchdowns. He was doing it with his arm, with his legs. Kansas State is a team. DJ Giddens is a guy super explosive. Kansas State is a team to watch out for as we move forward in the college football season as well. And then number 21,
I really like Kansas State because they play within their box. They don't jump out of it. They're an old school team that wants to run downhill. They do it with defense, quarterback in the center, and I like Avery Johnson because he impacts the game in so many different ways. As both a runner and a passer. They do it with defense. I like what Coach Kilman has out there in Manhattan.
Absolutely. The little apple.
Back to the Texas real quick. I'm going the opposite. I stay with the hot hand until
well, Matt, you can't go wrong with either or. That's what I'm saying.
Where you're coming from with the Quinn Ewers and everything.
You know what I would do?
I stay with the hot hand.
You know what I would do?
If you keep switching back and forth, that can throw the offense off.
Well, it's not okay. Well, it's only because Quinn was banged up. That's first.
True, but you stick with the hot hand. I mean, Arch comes in and the offense is rolling. You get some, Georgia and everybody coming up. Bama, you stick with the hot hand. You don't just change quarterbacks all of a sudden.
Arch ain't ready for Georgia. Arch is not ready for Georgia.
Okay. Give him.
I think Arch. You want to start Arch at Georgia and be down 21 points to Georgia? Go ahead.
Well, that's the defense giving up those points, but
that's the offense not being able to move it against Georgia's defense.
Yes, but that's where you give him a couple series, see how it goes, then you throw yours. I mean,
Quinn
that's where. Okay, I mean, stick with the hot hand.
I don't know. I don't disagree. I disagree a little bit, but I agree as well with you, Matt.
I mean, it could go either way, as I said too. I agree with you, and
you disagree, right?
It's like things are rolling either way. So
I wouldn't. You guys want to be Sark? I wouldn't want to be Sark right now.
I wouldn't want to be him either. I'm with you.
That's a hard decision. That's a hard one, man. You got them. You got the boosters in his ear, like, "Hey, man, roll with Arch. He's younger. Get him. He's a young gun." Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of people in Sark's ear. A lot of pressure to probably start.
It's like Friday Night Lights with second or third season with a kid coming in. Then you got Saracen, who's there, who's been starting for them, but you play JD McCoy, rolls in, and it's like the boosters want to play JD McCoy, and you got Matt Saracen, who's won you a title and done all this for you. So yeah, they're in that situation right now.
I'm gonna be real. I didn't watch this Friday Night Lights show, so I don't get that one. But
whoever watched it out there.
Whoever watched it knows what Matt's talking about. Whoever watched it knows what Matt's talking about. Anyways, at number 21, we got Boise State. They got a Heisman hopeful in their own, and Aston Genty, who just 26 carries, 259 yards, 4 touchdowns against Washington State. I mean, he was a man amongst boys last week on that football field as they move up 4 slots. I believe between them and UNLV, they're fighting for that last G5 slot. That number 1 G5 slot to get into the college football playoff. And then number 22, we got Louisville. They lost to Notre Dame. They moved down 7 slots. Indiana, another Big Ten team, moves into the 4th slot. Indiana's been pretty decent this year. They move into the top 25. They're a team that could be very could be a little scary in the Big Ten. Can make some upset. They got some big games coming up. They have a good quarterback in Rourke, who's Curtis Rourke, who's got over 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The dude is transfer from Ohio from the MAC, so he's a dude that is been having them play really good football. This year so far. They beat Maryland 42-28. I mean, that offense is one of the best offenses in the nation right now. And then number 24, Illinois, they moved down 5 spots after losing a close one to Penn State. I really didn't catch that game. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on that game, Illinois Penn State, if you guys did watch that game. What were your thoughts on that game? Because I know it was close because I was tuned in to Alabama, Georgia, obviously,
which I think,
and I was kind of going,
was.
and I was going a little bit back and forth, but it was a close one, right? Within like first 3 quarters, it was pretty close until Penn State took off.
Real quick, guys, TJ's trying to jump on, but go ahead.
TJ's trying to jump on. Oh, go ahead, TJ. What's good, man? Hey, Hold on, this got to be a special occasion.
No, it don't. Man,
baby.
Hey, let's not be disrespectful now.
First off, Izzy, you saying you haven't seen Friday Night Lights? Credentials pulled. Come on, man.
I haven't seen the show, bro.
Got to do better.
That's why he hopped on.
He hopped on to say
that. He hopped on to say that. I started watching Friday Night Lights after Booby said, "Put Booby in." Let Booby spin. That's Friday Night Lights. I know.
Got to do better. Oh my God. He said he ain't seen. He don't get the reference. But hey, Matt, that's a good reference. That is a really good one. But
thanks, buddy.
Real talk to the Arch Manning point. You kind of gotta play him against Georgia. You kind of have to. Just to see where he's at, because if he ain't ready now, what makes you think he's gonna be ready in a year or 2?
Experience.
Well, I think it'll work better in Quinn Ewers' favor if you put him in against Georgia in a way. So then, if he does struggle now, okay, let's put Quinn in the game
because Texas is like they got Texas in the national title picture. Like, what better way to prove that you're a true contender? By beating a Georgia, by beating a Alabama. Like, you're gonna have to cross paths with these 2 teams at some point. So you might as well get it out the way and see what you got in either one of them. So
we already know what we got in Quinn Ewers.
So like here's my thing though. Like, if you go into Georgia with Arch Manning and you get your ass kicked, we got more questions. But if it's a close game with either one, then you really got a lot of questions. So if you go into Georgia with Quinn Ewers and you lose by a field goal, you feel pretty good about that. If you
they're playing at home, so that's gonna be a good. That's actually would be better suited for Arch. Well, I'm not between the both quarterbacks, but it'd be better suited for Arch going against that team at home as opposed to going on
no
the
matter
road.
who, if you're Texas, no matter who the quarterback is, you just don't want to get your ass kicked. Fair for both.
Week eight is going to be a hell of a week because you got Tennessee versus Alabama, you got Georgia versus Texas. Like both of them teams, so somebody's coming out with an L. Obviously Georgia came up with an L already, but one of them teams,
they're not getting enough respect. I mean,
to the Illinois Penn State game, I posed this question in the group chat and I didn't get an answer. It's nothing against y'all, but we be talking about multiple things at the same time in the group chat. So I'm gonna chalk it up to it being lost in the shuffle. U of I plays Penn State in the hard fought game. You said it was a close game for 75% of the time, right? I just felt like Illinois really couldn't get any momentum going. I thought there was a couple false starts that could have been called neutral zone infractions, but they didn't get it. It's up for interpretation. It is what it is. My issue, I don't have an issue losing to the number 9 team in the country. I have an issue with them dropping as many slots as they did. They were like 19. How does a loss to number 9 drop you from 19 to 24, 23, or whatever you are now. That to me makes no sense.
On the road in Happy Valley
On the
too.
road in Happy Valley at that.
That no, I agree with
Their
you.
own for most of the
Agree
game.
with. I don't agree with the fact that Illinois went from 19 to 24. The only thing I can say is that when they're looking at it, they're looking at K-State and Boise State, and they're probably looking at how dominant those teams were last week. So that would be the only thing. I mean, I would still have them against Louis. I would have dropped them like where Louisville's at 22. Like Louisville doesn't deserve to be 22. In my opinion. Indiana deserves to be where they at. I mean, not ahead of Illinois though.
I mean, at some point in time, being undefeated has to have some kind of merit. Like they 5-0. Like you gotta put some respect on that 5-0. And Ashton Genty, like real talk, if he wasn't at Boise State, if he was at like a man, if he was at like a Power 5, he would 100% be the leading Heisman guy. The guy has 13 touchdowns. And
I said I think he might become close to breaking Barry Sanders' record, which is what 36.
Like
At least tying it.
Touchdowns in like 6 games, bro. Like that's some CFP 25 on varsity shit, bro. Like that, like the game is very easy to him right now.
I absolutely. I mean, he reminded me of a little smaller version of Willis McGahee. The way he just so, he's so balanced. As a runner, he's so explosive too. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty remarkable to see him. There's another running back that we like that's up there. It's like Caleb Johnson from Iowa. We get to see him against Ohio State this week. We're gonna get into that.
That'll be good.
He's another dude that's people ain't talking as much about, but he's a guy that's up there. So I think he has 8-9 touchdowns, something like that, 10 touchdowns. He's another dude that should be on guys' radars, people's radars as well.
Yeah, I mean Indiana should be in the top 25, but they should not be jumping Illinois.
Christian.
No, that's
Illinois is taking down two ranked teams.
Christian. Anytime I come on, my presence is a special occasion. So you be respectful. I am blessing y'all with my presence. I'm giving y'all that privilege.
Wait, hold on. Deal with your ass after the show.
I am giving y'all that privilege.
Oh baby. Again. Anyways. And then round out the top 25, we got UNLV and Texas A&M tied for that last slot. UNLV did it. They beat the Fresno State well handily even with Taj Malik Williams at the helm. So anyways, moving into the week 6 games to watch because we got a lot to get to in a little bit of time here. So we got number 9 Mizzou going into the 12th man and facing number 25 Texas A&M, as this is a top 25, the only top 25 showdown this week in week 5. Mizzou coming off that, they're undefeated. They're coming off that win against Vanderbilt a couple weeks ago as well, in that double overtime win against Vanderbilt. And then last week, Texas A&M coming off that win against Arkansas in Jerry's World, 21-17. How do you guys see this one? We got Marcel Reed from Texas A&M going up against Brady Cook of Missouri. How do you guys see this game? I'll start with you, Christian.
Well, I previewed this one the other day. When I look at Missouri, they have the best tandem in the country that you've never heard of. That's Brady Cook, and they have a wide receiver named Luther Burden III. And this kid can do it all. He's young. He's explosive. He reminds me, he's a more explosive version of Michael Thomas, who played for the New Orleans Saints. Can go over the middle, can make those tough catches in traffic, but it's the ability to track the ball when he's stretching the field. And he's running a fade route. He can catch the back shoulder passes. And here's the thing. For as easy of a schedule that Missouri has had, they haven't looked all that good. To me, I know this is their first road game of the year, so I want to see what they're going to do in a hostile environment against the 12s. Marcel Reed, he gives the Aggies more of a presence. from the dual threat standpoint because he
Right.
can run it, but his passing is kind of questionable. And if I'm Missouri, you got to try and get him in a long yardage situations. Marcel is throwing that ball. I was gonna take Texas A&M, but I honestly think Missouri, they're the better team across the board. And I'm gonna take the Tigers.
Yeah. Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I agree with Christian there. I'm gonna take Mizzou on this one. Yeah, I understand they played at home so far all season, and this is their true test. And kind of feel like the last couple weeks they should have blown those teams out that they played. I mean, Boston College, it's been solid, but I mean, Mizzou is step and a half above them. I feel like defensively, and they have a more efficient offense. I feel like if Eddie Cook can go in there, protect the ball, allow his defense to do their work, and manage the game, they should be able to go to Kyle Field here and take it away from A&M here. It'll be a good one either way, but I think Mizzou, if they want to stay in the playoff hunt, especially in the SEC, this is the game you have to win.
Absolutely. I do think Mizzou does need to go into Texas A&M and win that football game. Next game we have on the slate as a game to watch, we got the Iowa Hawkeyes 3-1 going into the shoe to face the undefeated number 3 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State coming off that win at Michigan State in Lansing 38-7. As Iowa coming off a win 2 weeks ago against Minnesota 31-14. I talked about Caleb Johnson a little bit, their sensational running back. He's been on the Heisman list for quite some time. TJ still talking. TJ still talking about it. He said he's disrespectful. Anyways, this is the game in which Iowa is a severe underdog, 18.5 point spread, which is on the table right now. Who do you guys see winning this football game, and can Iowa make it close?
They can. They're gonna have to go in. Anytime they're in the red zone, they got to come away with 6. They cannot come away with 3 points because you're not going to beat them kicking field goals. Ohio State has to look forward to what's in front of them. They cannot overlook the Iowa Hawkeyes, and Iowa has an offense. I think Ohio State wins and they keep it, but Iowa keeps it close.
Matt.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Ohio State's got a game next week at Autzen Stadium against Oregon, who should still be in the top 10 after this week. We'll see how they do tonight against Michigan State, but we'll see how good their defense is containing Caleb Johnson, and see how Caleb Johnson, vice versa, does against a good defense in Ohio State in the shoe. I think if Ohio State, keep their mind on this game, which they should win pretty manageable by a couple.
Ohio State out here like the Fast and the Furious, man. I mean, they got so many dang weapons, so many cars. They got Quinshawn Judkins. They got Travion Henderson in the backfield. Then they got Jeremiah Smith. They got Emeka Ugbuka, Carnell Tate. Pick one. They all could kill you at Will Howard's disposal. So it's going to be tough. And Iowa's a team that plays tough defense overall under Kirk Ferentz, but I got to go Ohio State at the shoe by double digits. I don't know if I trust Cade McNamara enough. Second season at quarterback, with Iowa, former quarterback. We know how that went. He was a quarterback before J.J. McCarthy took over, and yada, yada, yada. And we all know what that's worked out to be, right? J.J. McCarthy's in the NFL right now. He's a first-round pick, and Cade McNamara is still playing in college. So with that being said, give me the Ohio State Buckeyes to win that football game. And then the next game to watch, we have number 4 Tennessee Nico Yamaleva going up against Arkansas, going into Arkansas. This should be a good test for the young quarterback, as Arkansas has played really good football so far this season. And I say it's a big test. I absolutely love, this Arkansas team. I know they didn't pull it off against a team in Texas A&M on the road, but Taylor Green is a guy. He can kill you. He can hurt you with his legs. He can also do it with his arm. But how consistent can he be? He's got 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He looked like he was going to start off super hot against Texas A&M, and then he kind of fizzled a little bit. He's a guy's, Boise State transfer. He's a guy that got 9 touchdowns on the ground, and we all know Nico Iamaleava, who's has been one of the good young quarterbacks so far this season in college football. How do you guys see this game playing out? Honestly, Arkansas is a weird team in Fayetteville. They're a tough team to play. I think they're going to give Tennessee some go. I'll start with Matt. Who do you think wins this game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going to Fayetteville's never easy, especially this season with Arkansas with the way they played. All of their games really close. But Tennessee, I feel like, is on another level that people don't realize and have not truly respected yet. They went into Norman and took down Oklahoma, and they controlled that entire game, not by their offense, by their defense. And then their offense, took over and put up a couple scores to finish the game off. And I feel like that's going to be what this game's going to need to be, but vice versa. It's going to be the offense that takes over early on, puts up a couple scores early, and controls the game. And Arkansas chasing them from there. And they got Florida, then they have Alabama in a couple weeks. And watch out for Tennessee. I mean, they're going to get their respect here soon. And this is one of those that they need to go in, take care of business, and move on to next week and continue what they've been doing. So I'm going Rocky Top.
Yeah, I'm with Matt. Here. I just think when you did the top 25 standings, when you did the rankings, I saw Ohio State was ranked ahead of Tennessee, and I completely disagree with that. I think Tennessee should be ahead of Ohio State. Tennessee has been one of the 3 best teams I've seen in college football this year. Nico is as good as advertised, has the electric arm, and to be so young, he's so poised. They have great wide receivers. Dylan Sampson, he's the bell cow of this entire offense. Defensively, they get at you. They throw different looks at you. This is going to be a lot for Arkansas, but I think Tennessee does just enough to win this.
Yeah, I mean, and I think with Arkansas, I think you're gonna have to at home. You're gonna have to run the football. Obviously, you got to get Taylor Green in those RPO situations, but you have to get Jaquindon Jackson going. He's got 9 touchdowns on the season as well. He's got 9 touchdowns on the season. My fault. Taylor Green has 4 touchdowns on the ground. Jaquindon Jackson has 9 touchdowns on the ground. He leads the way. But in terms of like the some of the guys that on the Arkansas side, I mean, Andrew Armstrong's proven that he's one of the best wide receivers in the nation. He's already got 420 yards. I think it's going to be a good game, but yeah, you're right. I think Tennessee's at another level defensively, and then offensively they can do it, on the ground, through the air. But it's going to be a tough ride. Give me Tennessee. I mean, give me Arkansas. Well, let's get to my upset of the week. Let's get to my upset of the week. It's gonna be something to hold. They are my upset of the week. Actually, I'm just gonna jump the gun.
I was gonna say
Arkansas is my upset of the week. Christian, Matt,
Christian changed his mind.
I can't hide it. It's right there. No, I didn't change my mind. It's right there. It's right there. I can't not hide it. Arkansas over number 4 Tennessee is my upset of the week. I think Taylor Green and all those weapons, Andrew Armstrong, Tesla, Jaquindon Jackson, those guys are going to get it done versus Tennessee Let's go Razorbacks. And then my game of the week, I got number 10, Michigan, going into Washington, all the way to Washington, Seattle, Washington, for a rematch of the national championship game. How do you guys got this one going? We talked a little bit about Michigan. Haven't really talked about Washington much this season, but this is a dangerous game for the University of Michigan, especially how one-dimensional they are. I'll start with Christian on this one.
Yeah, and I will be previewing this one. I did announce at the beginning of the week I would preview Miami and California, but I'm making an executive business decision and you know why I'm doing that? Because it's my brand, baby. Nah, man. But listen, you said it best, Izzy. Michigan is so one-dimensional. You get what I'm saying? Their passing game doesn't scare you. I like what Steve Belichick has done with the Washington Huskies, like father, like son. This should be a fun one to watch. I will preview this one tomorrow, and as always, Israel Rivera and Matt James will be the first two people to see it. It's the family discount.
It's the family discount. As we know, you guys catch that on David. Matt James, how do you see this one going?
If you love defense, this is the game for you. I mean, both teams love to play defense, keep a low score, and grind it out. I mean, both Washington and Michigan have done that all season so far. I mean, they've done that the last few years, and they've had, both teams have had multiple players come out in the draft that have done well in the NFL. But Michigan, this is their type of game that they need to go if they can, throw it through the air. But I'm going to say they're not going to. They're going to win this on the ground still in a low-scoring game because this is their type of game too. And I feel like Michigan and their defense is going to play a full 60 minutes, which they need to beat Washington and Seattle.
This game would be so much better if Washington didn't lose close ones to Washington State, which is a bad loss in my opinion, and then Rutgers losing to Rutgers. I mean, this game would be on everybody's radar. But since Washington's not ranked, this is a tough game. I mean, Will Rogers is playing really good football. He got 10 touchdowns right now. There's no interceptions. He's thrown for over 1,300 yards. And there's a guy on Washington. He's along the lineage of great wide receivers that are coming out. Denzel Boston is a guy from the University of Washington who I got my eyes on. He's got 7 receiving touchdowns so far this year, 30 catches, 412 yards. I am gonna, love that matchup between him and Godley. Who's that? Christian, help me out. The cornerback from was it Will Johnson?
Will Johnson,
Will Johnson from the University of Michigan. So I'm gonna love that matchup right there. And then but they also got another guy in Giles Jackson, 34 catches, 400 yards, only 1 touchdown. But this guy Denzel Boston is something special in my opinion. So that one's gonna be an interesting matchup. 6'4", he's a big wide receiver too, 6'4", 209. So that would be my matchup to watch out for in this game between Washington and Michigan. But I can't wait to watch this game. I think it's a 6:30 game if I'm not mistaken. So you guys be on the lookout for that. And then obviously my upset of the week is Arkansas over number 4 Tennessee. And then moving on to the week 6 Heisman rankings. Yes, at number 1, Christian, I do have Jalen Milroe, Alabama, number 1 on my list. And then number 2, I got Cam Ward. 3, I got Carson Beck. Honestly, he was about to slide all the way out my Heisman rankings, but that second half brought him right back in because, Carson Beck, he almost willed his team back to a victory against Jalen Milroe in Alabama. So I got to put him in number 3. And then at number 4, Travis Hunter. Honestly, I had Travis Hunter at number 1 last week. I need to see a few more wins out of Colorado. I need to see that Colorado is an actual player in the CFP, that they will actually be in contention to make the college football playoff or in contention to win the Big 12 before I can start putting. If they do that, Travis Hunter is winning the Heisman because he would be the reason why that all happens. And then my fifth prospect here for the Heisman rankings, fifth ranked Heisman trophy candidate is Aston Genty. We talked about him earlier. He had over 250 plus yards and 4 touchdowns last week against Washington State. And then my dark horse is Nico Iamaleava from Tennessee. But also, I ain't gonna lie to you. Arch Manning's right there. Arch Manning is right there as a dark horse.
Yeah. Right now, I would probably put Ashton at 3. I would swap him and Carson Beck because what Ashton is doing, Boise State, they're not in contention right now without him. I look at the Heisman as if it were a most valuable player award. And you take that guy away, and the team completely falls apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
It wouldn't be where they are without him.
I agree. Well, hey, we're not all perfect, but look, I think that you know what, Carson Beck, you know what I mean? He showed me a little bit that second half for me to keep him there. But you know what? You guys make all great points. I think Ashton Genty is well deserving as being in the top 3. Shit, maybe even top 2 almost in some guys' rankings. But anyways, man, that's been a show. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. In case you missed it, you catch us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. And also make sure to catch the Washington, Michigan preview from Christian on the Daily Blitz.blog. And also you have the Mizzou, Texas A&M. Is it on the website already, Christian?
It is. I previewed that one on Tuesday. Go check it out. The dailyblitz.blog. Enter email address and become a subscriber today. And I'm always looking for phone callers for Monday Evening Quarterback. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Israel Rivera.
Oh yeah, I have to do that.
Yeah, look,
it's been 2-3 years already.
Yeah, man. Look, listen, and Matt has to come through as well. The doors, Monday, quarterback. Absolutely, Matt. We'll do it during the week. Sound like a plan?
It sounds like a plan. When you want me to call? When you want me to call, Christian? You tell me.
Man, look. The doors of Monday Evening Quarterback are always open. Look, in the words of Deion Sanders, I ain't hard to find.
Ain't hard to find, and we ain't hard to find either. I'm your host, Israel Rivera. That's Christian Sister from the dailyblitz.blog, and that is Matt James as well. And before I get out of here, in case I missed you, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's been the show.
He just threw it off the backboard for me to say my 4 favorite words. Holla at your boy.
Safe out there.
Holla at your boy.
Holla at you.